Hey friends, I'm Heidi with the Lilac Vine Orchards, and we're starting, like right now, a flower farm from nothing, no budget. We're getting going and we are going to share it all with you guys. So come and hang out with me. Beginning steps, how on earth are we doing this? How are we starting a flower farm? No budget, no resources. We're going to share it with you today. I'm Heidi and welcome to the Lilac Vine Orchards. This is our homestead. We are so excited to share with you as we are diving into the world of flower farming. Now, I shared our story, who we are, why we're doing this, all of that. You can check that up right up here. From a wedding florist to a flower farmer, this is our journey and I'm so excited to share it with you guys as we go along. So if you guys want to subscribe and tap that little bell notification so you get these updates as they come out, we are creating a flower farm here on our property that we rent. We have just under 8 acres. We are in Western North Carolina in zone 7B. And not only are we starting a flower farm from scratch here in our yard, but we're doing it with like no budget, no resources, no budget. We are really having to think and get a little crafty in how we're going to do this. And so I thought it would be perfect to share it with you all here today. So we ended up pulling together about $200 that we can invest into this business, at least in this current stage of our life. My husband and I are in ministry full-time along with our 4 children. We homeschool and share and do all of that with our main channel, Heavenly Minded Home, which you guys can check out. I have it linked down below. And we're ready to get started. Like I said, go back, watch that video, hear our whole story. I thought today would be perfect to kind of just walk you guys around and show you what we're doing, how we're doing it, at least what the plan is, and then we can share it with you guys as we go through. So technically yesterday and today are like days 1 and 2 of like officially we're doing stuff. We've been talking about it, praying about it, sharing about it, wanted to get in and get going. You've kind of planned, been doing a lot of research, and we kind of just had this big cold front and wind that came through. It's cleared out now. It's beautiful. And so yesterday in the wind and today with it being beautiful, we said, man, let's just dive in. Let's do this. Let's see if we can get a flower farm here going again with like a budget of like $200 that I've already spent on flowers and a couple supplies. So everything else that we need now, we're going to have to forage off of our property because we have no budget for it. But we have a few ideas. I think they're going to work. Let me share with you guys what exactly we're planning to do, Lord willing. So we do have a walkout basement, and this is just kind of what's usually kind of my personal garden bed here. So I did go ahead and pick up a few of these celosia on discount at Lowe's and put them in here. I have a bunch of primrose kind of sprinkled within this. I do have my 1 peony right here going. I probably won't get any buds this year, but at least it's going strong. I planted it last year and it finally came up. And then I saved this sweet little snapdragon from the clearance bin at Lowe's. So I've got a little snap in here. Again, this is more so just a personal cutting garden for myself. I am adding soil into these cinder blocks here that I'll share with you guys later, but I want to forage something that will kind of vine a bit that I can plant. It's always been my goal here. We put the cinder blocks to help the erosion off of that. And I want to forage something that I can plant in these to kind of fill this in and give us a little bit more of a lovelier space down here in our little courtyard. So that's not really flower farming. That's more so just me and my own personal would like to have some flowers. I will do a video with like our whole property and like the dream of what maybe it could be, Lord willing, one day. But I'm going to just share with you guys kind of what I've been planning and what the plan for Lilac Vine Orchards 1.0, at least share that with you guys and kind of how we're being crafty to make it all happen with no money. I would love to see viburnum bushes going like all down our driveway. I picked up 2 this year, again, very tight budget. So most of the money went to stuff that can grow and be sold this year, but we did make a couple investment items, like a couple viburnum and a couple other things I can share with you guys. And then I just took Dollar Tree fencing to put up around them so they don't get mowed over and destroyed, but at least we've got a couple started. So we came out here, our son push mows our entire property, and he got everything all cleared up for us here. Down there are the 2 viburnum that will eventually hopefully be like a whole driveway of them. We wanted to start our flower farm up here. This is just off the side of the house. Our property does go up over here, and then it is down there. Like I said, we'll do a full property tour later, but we thought we would start up here, just closer to the house, easier to get water to, just easier to be close to in general, as we are in this first year and trying to figure it all out. So fire pit right here where we usually do like family s'mores and stuff, and that is our well. So we do have a couple breaks here. Originally, we started prepping our flower beds down over here. The plan originally was to do 4 by 10 flower beds. And like I said, we had them plotted out down there, cleared our spots, did everything. But then my brother, bless his heart, has been my great helper here, and they're all so kind to come out and play my reindeer games. But we got those prepped down there. And then we started talking about sunflowers. I had already planned to make one of those beds sunflowers, but then we really started talking about how well they grow out here, how fun they are, all those different things. And we said, you know what? How much would a bulk order of sunflower seeds be? Well, it was a lot more doable than I thought it was. So we sunk, and I'll do a video breaking down our entire budget and where money went and hopefully what we can get out of it. But we sunk the bulk of our budget into a bulk order of sunflower seeds. We're getting a few different varieties, and that means that this whole big field here needs to be sunflowers, which means if our sun comes from here and goes back to that way, if we plant stuff in those beds back there, they're basically going to be shaded and the sun is going to be blocked by those sunflowers. So that's not going to work. Our garden beds had to relocate. So as it sits now, we won't be using those beds right now. We're going to leave them as is since we had started prepping back there. And if we have stuff that will work well in the shade, we get some great shade back here, we can add that to our to-do list. We went ahead and started here with a few small rows, and I went ahead and put in a little bit of sunflower. We haven't received our bulk order yet, so far we just put in some packets that I had to start some sunflowers here. Ideally, the plan is that we will mow down to the dirt really low rows, so a row with just enough space in between them that the lawnmower can pass through, and this entire field from up here where the shade begins all the way down to where the hill goes down to the driveway will be rows laid out of sunflowers all the way back to the trees back there where it starts to get real shady again. So I went ahead and put these in just yesterday. So that's like day 1 official of starting our flower farm. My brother mowed down these rows for us, and I did 1 row of dwarf sunflowers and then 1 row of standard sunflowers. So the standard sunflowers I went ahead and just put directly down into the ground. We have had some great rain lately. We usually get great rain all throughout the summer here in North Carolina. So I went ahead and put the dwarf ones in about a foot apart, about 1 inch down into the soil. I just kind of took my trowel, cut open a spot for them, stuck them down in there. We planted sunflowers last summer with the kids, and really super simple. We threw them in the ground, they grew. It was that easy. For the regular sunflowers, I went ahead and spaced those 6 inches apart and did about 30 of those. So I only did about half the row here, and those are the Autumn Beauty mix, so we'll get some different colors. So the dwarf, I don't remember which one I did, but they were just smaller standard color sunflower, and then the autumn beauty. We want to make sure to think about the planning of our rows so that way we're not getting all of our flowers all at once, and we're getting stuff consistently all throughout the summer and hopefully into the fall as well. So we've got these guys in here, put them right down there in the ground. Again, the dwarf ones we did 12 inches apart, since they are the multi-branch sunflowers, and then the standard ones, the autumn beauty, we went ahead and did those guys 6 inches apart, so that way the flower heads aren't getting too ridiculously big. So those guys went in the ground here yesterday, and hopefully in the next few weeks and couple months to go, we will continue to mow down rows, add in sunflowers, and fill up this entire space with about 8,000 sunflowers. Next, we have our upper field here where our garden beds are going to go. It is like 5 o'clock in the afternoon going into the evening, so obviously our shade is starting to work its way here as the sun will start going down below these trees here. But let me share with you how we are for literally free prepping these garden beds. So this is our plan anyways. We knew we needed to get some beds in. I wanted something that was gonna be fairly simple, and we knew we essentially had like no budget to make it happen. I would love to build out these beautiful raised garden beds and fill them with all this wonderful soil and compost and all this other stuff, but we don't have a budget for that. And those can become ridiculously expensive. I also know that I don't want to be tilling up all of our ground, especially considering we'd have to be doing it by hand because we don't have any machinery. So trying to find the perfect mix here, and the fact that we are totally late to the game here. It is already the beginning of May and we are just starting. So it's not like we've been spending the early spring preparing stuff and getting stuff ready. We're kind of late to the game, and if we're going to salvage anything out of this year, stuff needs to get in the ground. So this is what we settled on. We went ahead and did, just to start, we can always add to this if we need to and get going here over the next few weeks or so, but we did 4 4-foot by 10-foot beds. Technically one of them is actually 4 foot by 13 feet because we goofed up and didn't realize it when we were doing it yesterday, but we measured these beds out. We literally came out with a tape measure, my brother and I going around measuring them out, and then just taking a simple little piece of wood, like sticking a stake down in it with a little bit of ribbon tied to it so we could see. We measured out these beds. We left a 3-foot aisle in between them. Again, something just super easy that when we come out, we can easily mow and get in between it as stuff is growing up. So we marked them all out, and then my brother took the lawnmower and mowed down inside of our markers as low as it would go, down to the dirt as close as he could get it. He mowed everything down. Once he got that done, now today we're taking some cardboard and we are going to cover the beds. So we are going to go in that now mowed in area in between the markers, lay down some thick cardboard. He had some big pieces he laid down, and we're getting ready here to enlist the kiddos to have them help us and bring up some extra that we can fill in all of those spots. Once we get that cardboard laid down, again, we don't have a budget to go and purchase a bunch of soil and compost, and I don't know anyone locally that has stuff that we could gather from. If I had time to kind of look around and try to find someone, maybe that's something we can do in the future. We don't really have time for that. If we want to do something, we need to get it going now. And so we said, all right, what other resources do we have available to us that we could use? Now, luckily for us, we know that we've lived here for 9 years. We know a little bit about the people who lived here before us, and we know that this land has been pretty much left to just be raw and untouched. We have amazing earthworms. We have a lot of stuff that just grows naturally around our property. We know that we haven't been using any sort of chemicals or anything like that on our property. So we know that our soil health, although we haven't tested it, it's got to be at least decent, if not okay. So we're not too terribly concerned. What we decided to do was mark out our spots, lay this cardboard down, and then my brother invested in a wheelbarrow for us, which I'm so thankful for because holy cow, why are wheelbarrows as expensive as they are? We searched around everywhere. Walmart ended up being the winner. I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks. And even still, I could not believe how expensive wheelbarrows are, but my brother went ahead and invested in one for us. I think mainly for him, so he wouldn't have to haul all the stuff I want him to. And we're going off just right here off the side of our house, and in our forested area we have some amazing rich black soil on the forest floor. So we are going to go ahead, take that wheelbarrow, my brother's been working on it today, and just going up into the woods and scraping up that top few inches of amazing rich thick soil. We've got some that's, you know, different stages of composting with some leaf matter and stuff breaking down on the top, and then getting those first few inches of soil that is just so rich and dark and full of good worms and bugs and all of that great stuff. And so now we're going to go ahead and come over here to these garden beds. They've already got the cardboard on them. We're gonna start dumping about 4 or so inches of the topsoil from the forest floor there on top of the cardboard. And then we have just taken some really small trees around the property, like small trees, you know, only a few inches in diameter that have fallen down, big branches that have come down over the winter. We've kind of been going around collecting those, dragging them out of the woods, and we're going to use that to build our borders for these garden beds. So we've got some good long branches. We're just going to start kind of stacking them up around the perimeter, probably put a few screws into them just to keep everything in place. Look at Zoe. She's so cute. And get these garden beds built up. So again, we're only starting with 4 of them. I'll share some more here about, you know, plans and what we're going to be putting into them. And we kind of were like, let's get going, right? If we don't get started, we're not going to have anything. So we really need to just get started. We're behind the ball here, and we need to get some stuff in the ground. And then if we're feeling like, okay, maybe we can do this and maybe we can get a little bit more of a budget in for some seeds, we can add more beds. We have plenty of space here in this upper field that we can always, hello love, that we can always add some more beds as time and finances and maybe even just a little bit of confidence grows. But for right now, massive field of sunflowers, and then I'm really thinking that we're going to have some great productive beds up here with some succession planting and setting them out right. I think we'll be doing pretty good with our 4 main beds here, at least to get started. So he's got his wheelbarrow and supplies here. This is the topsoil that he pulled out and just covered it with a tarp so it would be nice and still damp when we're ready to use it. Again, he just kind of cleared himself a hole and was going up there into the woods to get that. We have plenty of room as we go that we can always, you know, work back here. Up here gets great sun in the first part of the day, and then really towards the later afternoon where it's really getting hot in the summertime, it does cool down up here a little bit. So I think that would be nice for a lot of different flowers. And then here we have beds 1, 2, 3, 4. So far they're all marked out. You can see where they're mowed down from the rest of the field. Kids are going to bring up some more cardboard so we can fill the rest in, and then we will build up those wooden borders up around them so our soil doesn't wash out and things stay where we need them to stay. Also, so it makes it easy to mow around them as the summer goes on. So there's our 4 main flower beds there. All of this back here will end up being sunflowers. We also really do have a lot that grows on our property that when I was doing weddings, I would do a lot of foraged foliage and wildflowers that we would add into bouquets and centerpieces. And so there are a lot of things that grow around here that we're not going to touch because I love using them in designs. And then we have a lot of things around here that I've kind of wanted to take and repurpose that grow naturally and make them a little bit more of like a landscape feature. We'll be sharing more about that as well. I have a couple more things that we are prepping and starting that are more so those investment things. They're not going to be anything that's making us money as a flower farm this year. Heck, probably not for the next few years if we're being honest. But again, Lord willing, this is something that we're able to do. Hopefully some sunflowers, hopefully the cut flowers, the bouquets, the things that we make. hopefully those things we can get sold this year. We can see, hey, is this something that maybe we can do? Maybe we can make some money with and be a blessing to others and get something that we're doing together as a cottage industry as a family. That's the goal for those. But at the same time, I want to be investing a little bit into the potential future, Lord willing. So things like planting some viburnum, doing this next little project here, those are things that could potentially be something great in the forefront. They're just taking a tiny little bit of our budget right now because we're working on next to nothing. And so I'm kind of kicking myself because if I would have done all of this stuff 5 years ago when I really felt I should have done it, we'd already be established, but I didn't. So I still want to pay a little bit of attention to the things that I would like to get planted and would like to have in the future. And I know that I love using in floral design. And so a little bit of forethought, although most of the budget is going to stuff that will hopefully make money this year, a little bit is still going to these other ideas. One of those would be to planting a lilac. You can't be lilac and vine. We have plenty of vine. We don't have any lilac. So I do have one lilac that we put in there. I have one other one up by the house. I'll show you guys that. But we do have one lilac here, again, just with old Dollar Tree garden fencing so nobody runs it over. And then we have this hill here. We're getting ready and clearing off this hill. We're going to go ahead and tarp it because we do have, especially over there, we do have some poison ivy and just all kinds of stuff that grows up on it. So we do have a tarp. We're going to pin the tarp down to the hill here, leave it for a while until we get everything underneath good and dead, and then we can kind of come in and prepare the soil a little bit. We plan on doing this to at least that tree. It stays pretty sunny over here. But we want to go ahead and get this hill tarped up, kill off all of the weeds and junk that's growing on it, especially the poison ivy, make sure all of that is good and gone naturally without a bunch of sprays and killers. And then I want this to be our lavender hill. I want to get some lavender plants going. Now, obviously it takes a while for lavender to be ready to harvest and use. So this is an investment hill. Lavender has always been something I've wanted to grow. I've wanted to have. There's so many different ways to use lavender, to sell lavender. Just it's obviously always one of those great top producing crops. And so taking the hill space here that gets great sun, great drainage, and it's also kind of out of the way because this is something that you put in, but we're talking a few years before we're actually like really harvesting from it. I think this is a great place that we can go ahead and get some rows of lavender growing and being able to kind of maintain them but out of the way, and Lord willing, a few years time. So like I said, we're gonna tarp it all down, get everything killed there. We know that stuff has no problem growing on there, so hopefully the lavender likes it, and hopefully we can get that stuff planted here soon and at least start the process, start the investment in hopefully having a lavender hill here soon. So there's a little peek into this like literal very beginning of a Lilac Vine Orchards. I'm so super excited to just get started, right? Like just give it a shot. You don't know that you can't do it if you never try. And for nearly a decade, we've lived here and never tried it, even though it was the very first thing when we pulled up on this property, we said, oh my gosh, we have to do that. So I should have done it, shoulda, woulda, coulda, million reasons why we probably still shouldn't, but we're going to give it a shot and I'm gonna share it all with you guys. So we've got a lot of things to kind of finish up today, like finishing getting the cardboard and the topsoil on those garden beds up there. Yesterday I got the first sunflowers already in the ground. So at least the first couple rows are there. We'll wait about another week before we add anything else. We're actually going to go up and cut down a ton of these small trees that are up kind of just on the far side of the sunflower bed. It's way too crowded up there. We've said for years they really need to be thinned out, but now thinking about it, we do have some deer, and so I'm already trying to think ahead of the deer ruining the sunflowers because I know they love them. We've never had a problem so far, but we've also never had an entire field of sunflowers to entice the deer, so I'm sure that could be an issue. We're trying to think of ways that we can do that essentially for free, we think we came up with a solution. I'll share it with you guys as we actually get it done. But before any sunflowers start growing, we need to get all of those trees down that we're going to need and make sure we kind of have things prepped and ready. So we've got a lot to still get going on here, but I'm so excited to share it with you guys, whether you're a flower farmer, maybe you are far more experienced and you want to weigh in and add some comments. Like, we're here to learn and grow, and if it can be an encouragement to others to maybe get out there and try it. If this can be an encouragement to you to maybe get out there and try it, or maybe you just want to watch along, I'm so glad you guys are here. We pray that this channel can grow, that it can be a blessing, a place of community and encouragement for those who either flower farming, maybe you're thinking about doing a cottage industry, maybe you're just curious about how our family's doing it. We're super excited to get to share. So that's kind of the original idea and plan here. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about exactly what we're planning, exactly what's going into the beds. We'll share with you guys all of these different projects and things that we're working on. Again, foraging and using what the land around us has given us to try to get this all done with our shoestring budget, and I mean shoestring. So glad you guys are here. Be sure to subscribe before you head out if you found this fun in any way, maybe a little helpful, maybe a little encouraging. We'd appreciate you guys giving us a thumbs up. Any questions, ask them down below. Otherwise, you can watch this video right here to hear our story and where exactly Lilac and Vine Orchards came from. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, friends.